Okay, welcome to the Vancast. Looking at the cod collapse, which I always thought was interesting. I personally am happy to learn more about it. Okay, so today's assignment will be due on Thursday. I know you guys will be happy about that, I guess. But it's really not hard, but it'll take a little Googling, but really not much. Okay, so due on Thursday. Just a review of the cod fishery, Atlantic cod fishery collapse. You guys had to do a little work with that, right? Hopefully you're learning something. And then this food web, you're just going to identify each of the parts briefly, just a very briefest of description. Okay. So I'm going to show you a couple things that I found online. I just never can stop searching online when I just have questions in my head. Okay, one thing is trawling, which I'll show you shortly. Okay, before and after. It's a massive net, super heavy. It does have wheels, but it also has a couple of parts that drag across the ocean floor, and it just does massive damage. It's really bad idea. So this is the before and after. Also, they do it for shrimping, fish. I personally don't like to buy shrimp because I know they use trawling to catch them, and it can really do so much damage. I feel guilty if I do buy shrimp. Okay, so that is that one. Okay, we're going to go to this little PDF by the National Park Service I found. National Park Service tends to be a bit conservative, so I prefer to use scientifically more conservative information. That way I'm being a little more balanced. Okay, is it going to collapse? So I'm going to go to the top of this PDF actually. So this is really a PDF from the Park Service about trying to inform people about salmon, saving a salmon fishery. But they're using the collapse of the Northwest Atlantic cod fishery as an example. And other things that are big issues are global warming, which affects weather patterns and weather events, and pollution. Really big issue for sure. Okay, anyway, so we have the Grand Banks, right, off of Maine, off of Canada, eastern Canada. Okay, so big issues as you got along into the 90s, especially able to use technology and massive ships. There's a little graphic of a trawler, and they were just vacuuming. I like that description I read, vacuuming up cod. And it turns out that one of the big problems very likely was that the scientists modeling that they used, they had really bad data, and they had trouble getting good data, and they're running on assumptions that they really didn't know if they were true for their model. And it looks like scientists and their modeling was a big part of the problem for letting commercial fishermen catch too many fish. And of course, the policy for politicians was also not good, which is common. So in the food web, it's very complicated. Haddock's important. Oh, you weren't supposed to do that. Haddock is important, and you'll see the food web. Grouper, capelin, a kind of smelt, very, very important, similar to herring actually. Flounder, just a lot of critters important. Here's a trawling graphic. So we have these capelin. They will eat a lot of the plankton. They'll eat a lot of plankton, and particular types of plankton. Actually, I can't remember what type they liked again. And then we have baby cod, and the arrows show where the energy is going. So it becomes food for. That's the arrow. It becomes food for. So baby cod become food. These are actually not baby cod for capelin. The plankton are. But baby cod are food for, that looks like a mackerel of some sort. That's the one fish I didn't know in here. Okay, and then here, these look like herring, which become food for cod, and then capelin become food for cod, and so on. It's very complicated. You look at the food web, and then flounder will eat the capelin, and there's fishing going on in these fisheries that are become pet fish food, become parts of pet food, just all kinds of harvesting, a lot of fishing pressure going on. Okay, I'm not going to worry about this. And then this is another fishery in the southern hemisphere that collapsed, the orange roughy, deep water fish off in the Australia area, New Zealand, Antarctic. And this other stuff here, this is called bycatch, which is a really huge problem, catching things and killing them that you're not going to keep for commercial fishing. Just huge amounts of damage going on. And that's the end of that. And then I wanted to briefly show you this. Okay, bycatch.
Fish and other ocean animals that are unintentionally caught by fishing gear.
That's stuff they don't.
Scientists and gear specialists from the University of New Hampshire
kind of
are working with fishermen to test a new selective fishing net. This fishing net, called a trawl, is compatible with ground fish regulations and would reduce the amount of bycatch while fishing for haddock.
So here's how the trawlers work. And these things slide across the bottom of the ocean. They just do so
Bycatch
much.
is the name given to fish and other ocean animals that are unintentionally caught by fishing gear.
Okay,
Scientists
so
and gear specialists from the University of New Hampshire are working with fishermen
from them. Okay, so they're using better technology. That's a little bit positive. Okay, so let's go back to our food web and your assignment. And I can put this on under the files in Teams also, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so here we have a food web. You guys, you're going to put a description of the type or types of organisms for each element. Each element, including every element of the graphic, you're going to describe briefly, even this down here. And each element, so you're going to have to Google that up. Just the briefest, of description, kind of idea of the type of organism. Benthos, for example, that's clams. Benthos is the bottom, the floor. So clams, maybe beneath. Clams, crabs, worms of all kinds. Okay. Phytoplankton, right? That's plants, plankton. Bacteria, breaking down dead stuff. Detritus. Suspension feeders, that's like anemone kind of critters. Jellyfish. So then stuff, this is similar to detritus, deposit feeding benthos. Okay, so you're going to describe each of those, get a feeling inside the food web. And as you look down here, it gives some information. FM is fecal matter. So fecal matter from suspension feeders becomes organic matter for deposit feeding benthos. So you guys will look that one up, see what that is. I'm not totally sure. I know shrimp might be part of that. And then fecal matter from mesozooplankton. Zoo, you should know that. That's an animal, right? Become food for these deposit feeding benthos. Okay? So you guys will do that. And cod are considered piscivorous fish. They eat other fish. Pisces, right, is the sign for fish. So pisc, and was it pescador is a fisherman in Spanish? Okay, so this says what these guys are eating, these fish. Okay, so that is your assignment. There's information there, and I think that is the end of our discussion. It's due on Thursday. Now I need to be able to stop this dang thing.